Greetings and welcome to the first inaugural Dev Talk for Star Kinesis with JSVeterans Director Gasper Manka. How you doing, Gasper?
Hey there, good. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, so this game that you're building, Star Kinesis, that is coming out very, very soon. We just wanted to spend some time talking about it, make sure to answer some key questions that have been coming up, and introduce people to not only who you are, but what this project that you've been working on is. So first of all, I guess the opening question is, what is Star Kinesis?
Okay, so Star Kinesis is a multi-platform, multi-genre space strategy simulator, kind of futuristic game based about 75 years in the future, and you're essentially a commander that controls a MMC, or a multi-role modular carrier. You basically outfit it as much as you want, and you get dumped into sort of these instanced sandbox sort of battlegrounds, and you have at it. There's multiple factions and AI systems, and it's mostly dynamic. So based off of where you are, what you're doing, and who you're fighting is kind of your experience. And if you want to stick around and duke it out with other players, it's your prerogative. There's a lot of cues that actually took from Eve, so I figure that the fan base might actually appreciate the game a bit.
Yeah. Well, obviously you make the comparison to Eve. Eve is a massive sandbox with a player-generated economy and whatnot. What characteristics of Star Kinesis do you feel closely resembles Eve?
Right, okay, so obviously this is designed for a mobile platform, so I consider it kind of like an Eve Lite in a way, but more or less the biggest fundamental similarities that it has would be the system that it's a sandbox sort of dynamic gameplay where you don't really know what's on the other side of that gate once you enter a battleground. And more importantly, the customization of the ships is quite in-depth. Same with the crafting system. It's not a player-based economy, but it is a fairly deep economy when it comes to this genre of game.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about what genre of game this is. You mentioned it is on a mobile platform. What kind of gameplay would a user be able to expect?
So since it is designed for mobile, it's kind of just designed for an easy touch interface with a finger being dragged across the screen and whatnot. And what you're going to expect is once you have your carrier outfitted and you move into a battleground, you're able to do several maneuvers when it comes to, say, flanking or broadcasting your carrier, broadsiding your carrier. But more importantly, it's about how you allocate targeting and how you control your ship's tactical maneuvers, and how you play with friends and strategically advance on an objective or clear out enemy carriers.
You mentioned a lot about PvP earlier. What's going to prevent powerful people from just stomping on other less powerful people?
So whenever you enter a game, you're automatically essentially in queue to get either just cooperative gameplay players coming into your game, or potentially enemy players, and everything is matched up accordingly. You have what's called an asset score on every carrier. Whenever you outfit a chassis and you add in all the mods, depending on the rank, the slot of the mods, the rank of the carrier chassis itself, basically everything that you bring to the table is accounted for, and you're matched up accordingly against other players that have a similar ranking.
So players with a kind of killer mentality could actually work on that by making kind of streamlined special purpose ships in order to be able to get their job done. And because if somebody makes a general purpose ship, they're going to use a lot of extra assets, have a much higher score, and so somebody who focuses directly on ganking may be able to penetrate into those people because they have specialized their build.
Right, so when it comes to that sort of mentality, say like a generally focused carrier where it has, different types of buffs, a variety of ships, and a variety of weapon systems, versus somebody that is, say, just pumped up one type of weapon system and got into a battleground with one specific goal in mind, destroying other players. the asset scores will force those players to still be on an equal battlefield, on an equal playing level. And as far as the mods and whatnot, every mod has a statistical increase that is congruent with every other type of mod. So just because someone is adding, say, passive power to all their defensive abilities, it doesn't impede their ability to fend off an attack that is, somebody has created like a special focus for. And it becomes more about how you play the carrier that you outfitted for that battle. So it's not so much about creating just a ganking sort of ship. If you have significantly better mods, you're still going to be matched up against people appropriate for you.
Right. My point is that wise fitting practices will just have you have a better ship, because if you have inefficiencies, then that could be exploited by other people that don't have those same inefficiencies. I actually really like that.
Right, yeah. I mean, obviously you have to kind of put your mind to the creation of the ship. If you just tack on a bunch of random mods and, you're put up against somebody that has an equal asset score but has really focused down their build, that person that, focused down their build is absolutely going to outperform the other player. And it's up to that other player to either get out of dodge as fast as possible, which sometimes that can be prevented, or play their chassis to the best of their ability and come back another day or outfit better later. Basically it forces people to think about the builds.
Right. So obviously these mods become very key to effectively everything. The mods are basically all the equipment that you load on your loadout for your ship. So how are these mods acquired or built?
Okay, so there's a multitude of ways. Basically, every time you finish a battle, depending on if you completed all the main objectives, secondary objectives, how well you did in the battle, i.e. like how much stuff you just blew up, and then your salvage rating, which is very important. It's kind of equivalent to like magic find in many other games. That'll determine how many extra rewards you get, and these rewards are openable and somewhat randomized. They're still rank based, so getting a green, purple, or blue mod, that'll give you getting a green, purple, or blue reward box, that'll give you an equal type of mod, but the categories are kind of based off of rarities, because there's 4 different categories: standard mods, advanced mods, launch bays, and interceptor bays. That being said, there's also the ability to craft mods. These require rank and tier resources, and these are time based to craft them, but you're able to kind of focus the type of mod that you want, as opposed to being almost completely random. Then there's the ability to purchase from certain vendors. There are different vendors throughout the solar system, and they all provide a specific mod category. And these mods are, you can periodically check back to see what they have, and everything is amplified by your salvage rating. That includes what the vendors have, that includes what you're crafting, and in the way of crafting as well, there's a whole resource manipulation system. So converting different types of resources, creating advanced resources from more basic resources, upgrading the ranks of resources, etc., etc. These all allow you to create better mods as you go further out in the solar system, and unlock access to more advanced factories and refineries. And then lastly, there are the reward boxes. And the reward boxes are what you get as rewards at the end of every battle. But these are obtainable through a multitude of ways, through a multitude of systems, from winning games to special rewards to subscription if you would choose to subscribe and help us out, and also purchasable from the in-app store.
Right. Okay, cool. So basically there's a lot of ways to get these mods. One of them is that you can purchase them through these lock boxes. The other ways are through crafting, through gathering, and through completing missions. Is that correct?
Right, that's correct. Yeah, and any mod in the game, and any means to get a mod in the game, anything that's offered on the store is also obtainable in game. There's nothing that you can purchase from the store that isn't obtainable in game.
Right, and if I remember correctly, the best stuff in the game cannot be purchase that has to be gotten in game. Can you go a little bit more into like maybe what this top tier stuff is?
Right. Okay. So the top tier stuff consists primarily of the tier 4 chassis. Now, everything in the game is like an expendable asset and has a one-time use in effect. So you can lose carriers, you can lose mods and other assets, but everything is fairly easy to get, and it's fairly easy to work up to if you put your mind to it. But as far as the top tier stuff in the game, pretty much the highest rank and slot, like 3 slot and rank 3 items, they are rarer and those are not purchasable from the store. The best thing that you can get is the random lockboxes, the rank 3 random lockboxes, which are also obtainable in game, and those just give you a random mod of that equivalent value, and you're not guaranteed to have a 3 slot as well as the rank 3 what's it called?
Right. Well, I guess what I'm saying is that if they're not done through lockboxes, can you give us a clue as to how they are made or gathered, or is that still a secret?
I gotcha. Okay, so the highest tier stuff, how you actually obtain them, you can either craft them once you've unlocked the highest tier factories, or in the outer edges of the outer fringe of the solar system. We refer to that as no man's land. Or you can purchase them from vendors if you're lucky. Again, these are all based, what's available in blueprints and what's available from the vendors is still affected directly by your salvage rating. And then as well as going into a battlefield, having a high salvage score, completing a like end game mission, and coming out with main objectives and secondary objectives completed, this has a high chance to give you the highest end items in the game. And additionally, when it comes to the slots, since basically there's 2 modifiers for every type of item, there's the rank and then the slot. The slot can actually be upgraded, so you can take like a 2 slot item and merge it with a like rank and like type 1 slot item to create a 3 slot item.
Okay, so the best stuff in the game is basically acquired by going to the furthest reaches of space, which I assume is dangerous and time-consuming process.
Not so much time consuming once you're there. Completing all the missions to get to that area, that does take a bit of time, but the matches, even at the end of the game, don't stretch too long time-wise. I mean, most of them on average will take between 8 to 15 minutes, and it's up to you how long you want to spend. Also, it's up to the enemy players if they want to interfere with you, and if you want to deal with that interference. Obviously that would stretch out the gameplay a bit.
Right, especially as more and more players come into the system, more people might start stepping on each other.
Right, absolutely, especially on PC, since the PC version and the mobile version have different player caps. That basically means that the PC version can become a lot more hectic, and a lot more players can jump in, whether they be allies, friend or foe. That's up to the RNG gods, but it's pretty much up to you as far as how you want to deal with that.
Very interesting. So if the best stuff in the game is acquired by completing the game effectively, or by progressing through the game, why would I stop and buy lockboxes?
Well, for one, to be honest, to support us. For two, if you have like a series of cataclysmic disasters and you lose a bunch of your assets along the way, and you want to kind of carry on with that account, well, that you can work your way up slowly through, either the resource mining system where you're getting back all your crafting stuff, or if you want to get a kind of head start after initial launch, you can purchase lockboxes and kind of give yourself a bit of a jump. Also, it gives you variety. So, if you're not accruing lockboxes as fast as you'd like, whether it be, you just don't have the time to play, or you're just not getting what you want, it just gives you a chance to roll the dice again and potentially get something you want. You're not required to buy anything. Nothing, like I said before, that's obtainable from the store is isn't obtainable in game, but it's just a matter of what you as a player want to do, and if you want to help support us.
Well, what about cosmetics? Are those obtainable through the lockboxes?
They can be. If you get your salvage rating high enough, they can be kind of like a bonus reward within a lockbox. But the store also offers a lot of cosmetic options that are separate of the lockboxes themselves. These allow, you to change colors of your various systems. They allow you to get different environmental packs, changing the skyboxes and the illumination colors. They allow you to change texture packs and all sorts of other fun stuff as far as customization goes. There's a fair amount offerable in the store when it comes to customization, but again, nothing that isn't obtainable within the game inherently by just playing it if you play long enough.
Sure. My next question is, where are we going from here? So, when is this going to be launching?
Okay, so the initial goal was the 25th of July. I'm going to push that back about a week just because I had a surgery that's kind of complicated things. I had to obviously slow things down. But back in the game, I'm focused again. So probably about early August, I would expect the release of Star Kinesis, and probably about a week prior to that, some sort of beta form.
Okay, very cool. So, so early August is going to launch on Android, iOS, PC, and Mac, correct?
That's right. Yeah, it'll be on all the major platforms, and there will be a web build coming shortly after that, so you don't even have to download anything potentially. And as far as other platforms like say BlackBerry and stuff like that, once I kind of figure out the baseline, make sure there's no errors, no issues with the released platforms, then we'll move forward and continue pushing out on additional platforms.
Very cool. And then, so what happens after August? Is there plans for continuing to do cool stuff in the game?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the plans moving forward, it's a stepping stone process for us. We are new to releasing a high-end game into releasing a complex game. So I foresee that there will be a time frame where it'll be cleaning up things that people find wrong. I know that beta is for that, but I'm sure not everything will be found in the beta. So yeah, once we're done cleaning up, I'm hoping within a week or two, then we'll move forward to start creating the expansions to both the storyline within Star Kinesis and additional stuff in the game. Some of those will likely consist of additional ranks for items, increasing the storyline missions, and most importantly, we plan on potentially doing an additional faction, and we're going to move towards once that's launched, then we're going to move towards the next game, which will be an intertwined game with this. It'll probably be like a MOBA sort of game.
Well, very cool. I don't want you to try to speculate or give too many secrets away, but you did mention something that I want to kind of circle back on, which is the story. We've been talking a lot about the gameplay or the mechanics of how to progress in this game, but not really much about what's going on in it. And it's got kind of an interesting twist on the story. What's going on in this universe?
All right, so when it comes to the factions, there's basically two factions. There's, at least at this time, there's the Corporate Alliance, the CA, and the United Nations Stellar Fleet, the UNSF. Basically, one is a government organization, and one is a private conglomerate. And the idea is that these two factions are starting to butt heads as environmental disasters are starting to really hit Earth. Basically like a greenhouse effect is starting to escalate. And in the panic of that, in the panic of the potential crash of humanity, the search for unique resources out there and unique thought, it's created this sort of melting pot that's just waiting to blow. And so you have these two factions that are starting to duke it out and butt heads at every corner throughout the solar system. And basically there's also these fringe smaller factions and pirates that are additionally interfering and starting to draw our solar system into chaos.
Okay, so but this doesn't this is not the distant future, right?
Right, this is about 75 years in the future, and the story arc follows a scientific sort of outlook on the future. So when it comes to the technology that should be around in about 75 years, that's what this universe is based off of. So these carriers, they consist of basically a nuclear fusion drive, a bunch of capacitors and CPUs, and that's what you're essentially upgrading. You're just basically multiplying the quality of those things, and as far as weapon systems go, it's all based off of technology that's currently kind of being created or theorized. There's nothing that's just straight fiction, for example.
So what kind of story what kind of lore are we going to have in this game? Is it going to be active, or is there item descriptions? How does it play out?
So okay. So even in the reward boxes, for example, they are a part of the lore. And what I mean by that is, in our search for unique things out there that can potentially help save our race on the cusp of disaster, they consist of unique or anomalous fragments, and then like ancient fragments, and these all tell us they're actually part of the story that will unfold. I don't want to give too much away in the way of the long story arc within the universe, but Star Kinesis itself is really just a focal point, like one specific pivotal time within the universe, and the arc's been planned out for about 5 games and a millennia of humanity's existence.
Well, let's not get too ambitious there.
It's only a millennia.
Yeah,
I mean, 13 billion year old universe, whatever.
Fair enough. Okay, well, it sounds to me like there's a lot of secrets still in store to be unlocked. A lot of cool stuff going on. So how easy is it to just jump into the game? How easy would it be for somebody to just pick up this game without knowing anything, download it from the Google Play Store, and just start tapping on stuff on their phone?
Right, okay, so that's actually a really great question that we specifically attempted to address in its inherent design. So, for example, we designed this game with the mentality of easy to play, difficult to master. So you can basically, like you said, create an account, log in, jump into the first match that you see on the map, and start moving your carrier about and blowing stuff up. And it's as fun and as you essentially make it. And when it comes to the depth of the game, it's only really there if you want it to be there. Somebody who is just basically playing missions, gathering items through that means, going to the base and outfitting their carrier, well, that's it'll be fine and dandy, and they'll have fun, and they'll be matched up against equal players, and they'll be able to continue down the storyline just fine. But if you're one of those people that really likes to dig into the math behind everything, well, everything is fairly open source when it comes to that. So you'll be able to really outfit, fine-tune, create multiplicative systems that allow you to just overcome many enemy defenses and whatnot, and just really surpass the average casual player if you want, and you'll be also equally matched against like-minded players.
It's very interesting. So basically, as you attempt to progress, the challenges get harder, which means the players that you encounter are the players who have also passed those same challenges.
Yes, for the most part. There are going to be some situations where you're hovering generally around the same area always, yes. But as far as where they are, say in the storyline, or that's might not necessarily be entirely congruent. It doesn't have to be. So, but when it comes to, say, being matched up within the same zone, yes, that will be the case. You'll be matched up with people in the same zone and a similar asset score.
Right. So it's almost it's funny because your physical placement in the solar system almost becomes your MMR.
That is part of it, yeah. So really, there's only a couple deciding factors when it comes to matchmaking. So pretty much number one, whether or not it's like a co-op multiplayer or a single player game. Number two, what zone you're in, because that way the enemies are congruent as well. And then number three, a rough asset score, similarity there. So that's kind of it. So beyond that, it's kind of there's a lot of flexibility, and that allows for a very few players to still be matched up.
Right, but it doesn't really matter because even if you're not matched up, you're still just playing the game, fighting the challenges, doing the missions, and collecting your loot.
Exactly. Yeah. The game is designed so, I mean, this is our first title, so we don't know what kind of player base to expect off the bat. It's designed so that the game is completely playable, fun, and exciting, regardless of if there are other players to play with.
That is very cool. So, what would you say is the average game session time, both minimum and maximum?
So I would say that, mobile and PC vary only because of the quantity of potential players that can enter that battleground. So if you say have a bunch of allies on PC join up, you can probably clear the level pretty quick. The enemies do get harder, but obviously multiple massive carriers, they are able to clear out levels quicker, even though the enemies get harder. But as far as mobile goes, those tend to be shorter just because the player cap is lower. I would say that the average mission time without player interference can be anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes.
And how stackable are these? Like, is there a reason to just binge for 2 hours, or is this one of those really just kind of like, I've got 5 minutes, do a mission or two, and then be done?
Either way, however you want to play it, you can do either or. So the idea is between releasing, a mobile and a PC game is that they run off the same exact server. So a PC player can actually jump into a mobile's game, as well as you can go out and play it on your phone, the same account, the same statistics, everything. You can even play it offline to gain, a small amount of resources when you log back in, and you're able to go home, play it on PC, and watch the beautiful big battles unfold, and have a lot more fun when you're playing on a more powerful device.
Are there going to be reasons to band together, like raids?
So yes and no. Yes, in the sense that if you want to go and find enemy players and try to stalk them and just basically destroy enemy players, which does give you better loot rewards, better scores at the end of the match, which imply better rewards, you can kind of create yourself a little gank squad if you want and jump into the same matches together. But there isn't so much as like a mission that requires X amount of players. The storyline missions are some of those missions that only allow you to have friendlies, just your faction within the same match. So in a way, those would be the closest things considered to a raid.
Do you have plans in the future to add multiplayer cooperative content?
Oh, absolutely. It's just a matter of what we have coming out right now.
Sure, yeah. I mean, well, one of the advantages is hopefully it'll take some time for people to get to through the content we already have.
Right, yeah. I mean, it definitely will provide a few dozen hours of entertainment at the very least.
All right, so how much will it cost to get them?
Okay, well, it's free to play on all the platforms. It's just free to play, to download, to enjoy. It's up to you whether or not you want to splurge on, say, like getting a subscription that'll allow you to get a bunch of bonus items daily and currencies, as well as if you want to purchase stuff from the store, whether they be additional reward boxes or aesthetic sort of things. It's just up to you as far as how much money you want to spend, but you're not really required to spend anything.
Well, all right then. I assume there's like ads or whatever in between missions.
There likely will be a sort of ad system. Hasn't been fully implemented yet, and the subscription system would obviously remove that. Another thing to note is that a lot of the proceeds that we get, we're always going to be allocating a certain percentage to the Wounded Warrior program. Since we're all veterans, we it's something that's dear to our hearts, and we would just love to help those that need it. So that's going to be a static thing within the company with all products in the future, past and present.
Very cool. What kind of social structures are allowed in the game? Can you have guilds or clans or any of that kind of stuff?
So currently it's partially implemented. It's not 100% done yet. It should be done before launch, but no guarantees on this aspect of it. But you will have a friend system. You will have a fleet system. There are 2 icons that they're like your insignias that you're able to have equipped on your carrier, and one is a smaller fleet logo, and the other one is your player logo. So it kind of gives you a what's it called, like a sense of loyalty within your fleet. but these aren't fully refined yet. They are partially implemented, and I'm hoping to get it done prior to release.
All right, and if people want more information or want to support you, how would they go about doing so?
So the biggest help is through Patreon currently, but as far as financially helping us out, we don't really have a financial backbone. We've never really needed it. I myself am a retired veteran. I'm able to kind of work on this 24/7. I pretty much just allocate time to my family. That's the only thing that really trumps working on this project. So we're not doing this to create money, only. So it's any support, any offering through Patreon is always helpful. But as far as just supporting us non-monetarily, following us on Twitter, following us on Facebook, subscribing to our YouTube account, and all the general social media stuff, that's the next best thing. That really helps us out, helps get the word out, helps get a player base come launch. And you can go to JSVeterans.com or justsomeveterans.com, and all the links to our social media and Patreon are at the top.
Very cool.
I guess the only other thing worth, that I can mention is that currently we are working on the cinematic trailers for the first 3 excerpts within the story. We've already done kind of 1 prologue, and so, but that's more kind of just setting a mood for the universe. What these are is explaining the timeline and how things have progressed, and shortly they will be released. There's going to be essentially 3 sections, 3 chapters within this cinematic set, and the first 2 will be prior to release, and the third one will be part of the game opening cinematic.
That sounds exciting. And so where can we find these videos when they're ready?
So everything we generally post on YouTube and Facebook as well. So you're able to check it all out there, as well as jsveterans.com. You're able to, we'll post all that stuff on our front page once it is live.
And you're probably listening to this on YouTube, so please subscribe to this channel to get more information.
Yeah, every bit helps.
And I think with that should just about wrap it up. So I think that we will let ourselves go with some of our beautiful visuals and audio from the game.
Thank you, Ashtaroth. I much appreciate the opportunity to come on here and yap for a minute about Star Kinesis.